Well, if you're swiping on dating apps, you know that rejection is inevitable. And Bokma and Amit Karia from Chapter 2 Dating.com are here with ways to help cope and beat the rejection mindset. Thank you so much for coming on today. Let's talk about what the rejection mindset actually is.
Yes,
yeah,
and go ahead.
Well, I would say it's an attitude that you have when you get on the dating apps, right? Are you going to be confident? Are you going to be curious? Or are you going to be too vulnerable where if someone does reject you, you fall apart? And you don't want that to happen, right?
Yeah.
You want to stay positive. We always say ABC, always be curious.
All right.
And I think ABC, always be calm. You know, and be positive, because there's a lot of negative self-talk.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and it's interesting. I was just talking with someone in the green room, and they were talking about their older mother going on a date and how badly it went. And this woman was so excited, and she'd been texting this guy for a while, and her hopes were really high. And then she met him, and it didn't go well, so she was devastated. You can't let your hopes get too high. When you're meeting someone, it's like, oh, I wonder what this person's going to be like. Just be curious. Don't, you know, is this the one? Is this the person?
Overplaying it in your head.
Yeah, people set their expectations so high, and then they get let down, or you know, they get their hearts broken, and that's so hard in those first initial stages when you're so hooked on somebody. So let's talk about your own personal stories about rejection. You guys were saying you have one.
Yes, we did. And go ahead.
Well, go ahead.
Go ahead.
So when we first connected online, thank you, Tinder, 4 years ago, Amit had said he would call me at a certain time for our first phone call. And I put it in my calendar, and that time came and went. And I was like, oh, well, another flake, you know, whatever. And then the next day he called me and said, I'm sorry I missed the time I was supposed to call you. And you said?
And I said, you know, I could lose this, you know, well, how do I save that? And I said, well, Anne, you know, you seem like a very forgiving type.
Okay.
So I leave it to your best judgment.
How can I say no to that? We had a date the next day, and we've never looked back.
Well, there you go.
So sometimes it's about giving someone a second chance. You know, sometimes they make a mistake, but I would say going into it, be kind of ruthless with who you communicate with. You know, make sure that they have a good profile, that they're actually asking you a question and not just sending you a message that says, "Hey, sexy."
Oh, sure.
Someone like that is not going to be credible, and you know, you can get your feelings hurt. So you have to be very selective and kind of curate your feed.
Yeah, curate and also have a process. So if you have a set process, it doesn't have to be complicated. You follow that process, you don't take it personally, you stay positive.
It's almost like I advise people, you know, put on a bit of a suit of armor before you go on a date. Don't let what things other people do, you know, impact you too much. And like I say, be curious, but don't open your heart up too much, because, and especially women, we tend to do that. And one of the mistakes we see people making is that they'll text with someone for quite a while before they get to the first date, and they're already kind of half in love with this person.
Yeah, you're so hooked, you're talking all the time.
Yeah.
But how do you navigate that fine line between maybe being too guarded versus, you know, being cautious? Because sometimes you don't want to come off as too cold or too standoffish while you're trying to protect yourself.
Practice. I found, you know, when you're on dating apps, practice is really good. It's all there, and you can connect with a few people, go on some dates, and then look at it and say, well, how did that work out? Maybe I have to change my process, and then check the feed again. There's always going to be somebody else.
That's right. And yeah, practice is important. Like, go out on lots of dates.
Okay.
You know, we always say, imagine this could be a potential friend. So if you approach it with that mindset, the stakes are lower, right? And maybe you'll be delightfully surprised instead of crushingly disappointed.
That's a great way to look at it. So we have 30 seconds left, but for somebody who, you know, may be feeling these rejections in the process, how can they just handle those emotions right off the bat?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's very easy, you know, when you're in dating coaching, you're always telling, it's like physical fitness, you know, so just get out there, you know, start small. Because a lot of times people will say, well, I don't want to, I'm going to wait, you know, I have to work on myself, then I'm going to start. Just start.
Just start. Just get involved.
And when you do get frustrated, talk to a friend. You know, talk to yourself. You know, self-talk is really important, positive self-talk. You know what, that guy, that person, that woman, they weren't great. It's not about me. I'm going to, you know, just move on to the next one and be positive.
Right. Well, and Amit, thank you so very much for coming on with these details. We'll have it up on our website at chch.com.